Okay, so another update. I'm out here at the Mr. Cool air handler. I kind of forgot to show some steps. What I've determined, which for me is this, is too heavy for me to lift by myself. Especially when going up a ladder. I can lift it and move it, but not comfortably and not safely. So what I'm doing is I pulled the motor out, I'll explain that in a second, and then I'm going to lift the A coil out. So that should reduce most of it so I can carry this box up into the attic and set it in place, and then I can carry the other pieces up and assemble them in the attic. So the motor was being retained by a screw here and on the other side, and those were here and here. Then, to get the cords, I cut the zip tie that was here, opened the panel, and then very carefully, they were tucked in under here and around the back. Very carefully, I took out this, which is either a position or the speed driver for the unit, I'm not sure, and then L1 and L2. Now, if you're going to try this, before you go yanking on it too hard, I gave it a light tug and they didn't move. And so what I found is I pulled back, and I'll show it here in a second. I pulled back the insulation boots around this, and there's a little press pin, and when you press this pin, it drops down to release the locking tab out of that hole, and then it slides right off. Super easy. I used basically one of these guys from Harbor Freight. I just pushed it down and it slid out. Then this piece here also had a locking tab, and maybe when I get it in and reassembled, I'll show it. But briefly, if we come over here, as you see, if I can get it to focus and hold still, this piece prevents this tab from being pulled in when you press it. So you got to gently, with the same pick, lift this edge and this edge. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Let me see if I can set it. Come on. There, I can get it this way. Gently lift here, and it will slip right out. And then you can press this piece down, and the thing pops right off. And then as for your L1, L2 drives, you slip this boot back. Sorry, I'm trying to do this all one-handed. My other camera's giving me fits, so I'm doing it all with the phone. If you look, is it this side? Yeah, right here. This little tab on the very end, you press it and it slips right off. So, and then you just slide the boot back, press it and slip it off, and then gently wiggle it out through here. And then I just held it and lifted it straight out. Now for this, start taking the screws out, and setting them all in a pile right here. So this guy came out, and just big track. And I'm using these magnetic trays to put all my screws in. And so all of these screws are the same. Anything that's a unique screw, I'm putting in this one. And really, so far, was the only ones going through here on these two valves. But I had to get, in order to get to the screws here, you have to get the panel off, at least as far as I know. That made the most sense. I'm not going to risk something in this way and hitting these, since this is, and I don't want to damage this. So next I got to take this screw and pull this bracket off. Then in theory, I think the A coil assembly will come out. But I've also noticed, let's see, I can figure it out right now. Nope, I think I saw screws here on the body, but those aren't touching the A coil. I'm not sure. Oh, those look like they hold this bracket. So yeah, in theory, this out, And then in theory, I can lift this whole coil assembly out and set it to the side. And I think I can get this up through that hole. Okay, well, here we are. As you can see, that's not a air handler, that's a piece of an air handler. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm gonna have to take it apart into pieces, bring it up here piece by piece and reassemble it in this section. Part of the problem is this gas line is in the way and I never capped it off, so I'd have to go do that. I'm reusing these hangers, or attempting to. I have to cut them. And then the biggest issue I was running into, I gotta step down the ladder for a second, is I can't make the turn through this hole past this to get the box down without hitting that board of these rafters. So when the back end of this that I'm leaning on is still clear. Hey Penny. Hi baby girl. What you doing? There's Penny. That's my Boston Terrier. She's almost 2. Sweetest dog. So yeah, I couldn't get the end to clear this while I'm hitting that. I just don't have the length. And so I got to do it the hardest way possible. But I mean, it's manageable. Okay, well, after lots of thinking and trying, there's more or less what I came up with. This is the top. This is the bottom. And then under here is would be the side. So right, it's skewed this way, needs to go this way. Since these are relatively heavy, trying to assemble this hanging up in free air with no Z support, I'm going to stand these up this way and this way, put all the screws in the bottom and the corner bracing, and then rotate it, drop down. You know, if I had help, I could probably have done it the other way, but it's right now it's just me doing it. I got to get a friend over, or a neighbor or a buddy, to help me lift some stuff. The other parts, like mainly the coil up through this space, the motor and all that other stuff, I can probably get in here tonight, or before they can. Well, yeah, they won't be able to help till this weekend, and it's Wednesday. So, and I'm trying to get this done because next week it'll start getting warm, and even while it's low 70s, probably mid 70s out right now, or during the day, it still gets really hot up here. So, all right, I'll just do the next one in a second. All right, so video update. Got the coil in, and what I had to do, and I got the plenum done, so I sealed up the plenum with the mastic goop stuff, and then this tape, and I got it attached. I can't remember what I said in the last one, but up there there's 2x2 next to the gas line that's screwed into these rafters here and here. Then the strapping pipe, or pipe strapping, hold the back end of the plenum up, so it kept it at the same Z height as the air conditioner hanger, these angle iron pieces. So then when it was open, I had this slid back to about here so I could get in between it, and I sealed everything up with the goop. Then I put a then I also had to work out the emergency drain, which is that pipe right there. And the problem is I couldn't connect the new pan once the new pan had the fitting on that side, and you just can't get to it. Once these two are mated to each other, there's no way to get back there, I guess, unless I took this duct out, but then I'd have to unpuka it from that end or this end, and then separate it and crawl under the unit to glue it. So I put a straight adapter in there, extended it, came up to an elbow, then to another elbow out to here. I still have to do the wiring. Right there's my Romex, the yellow dot, the yellow wire right there. Hard to do. I'm standing on a ladder, half in and half out of deck. Goes over to there, and then that, hard to see, there's that brown wire right there that goes out to the condenser, not the wire in. And I'm gonna have to pull a new wire from over here to get the thermostat, because this one won't be long enough to get over to that box. So I'll pull a new one, and then I'll actually try to be nice and neat about it and clean and run it, like, you know, along there, up, along, shoot it down, and then drop into the unit. And then I'm gonna have to build my ductwork, or I have a flat cap with a 20-inch collar. That'll be the very last thing to go. The collar from here, or the 20-inch insulation down to here to this. Oh, and I also gooped up the collar on the inside and the outside for all the seams. So, but I'm gonna do that very last, because right now I use this as a workspace, move around space. When I was doing things, I had to take this and drop it down sitting on this to rotate it and flip it, and then lift it back up into the cradle. So then to get the coil, I had neighbors come over and help. My neighbor come over and help me and his son. Basically, I took this rope, we tied it through this part, the loop of the coil at the very top, at that end, and then I was up here in the attic, so it was on both sides, to kind of like create like a handle, and then they lifted it from the ground up into this hole. Then I grabbed it from the rope and pulled it all the way up, and then set it here. And that was so I didn't bend any pipes or damage anything or mess up any of these little fins. So then once it was up here, it was A-framed this way. And then I had to take this off again, take these brackets off and this bracket off, and then put the pan up here, then rotate it 90, and then lift it up and slide it in. Then put these brackets back in, then pull it out this way back, and then shove it back into that way so it grabs the locking tab back there. And then tilt it up and put your screw in here and here, and this is what holds it upright. And then now all my edges are sealed against here, so air has to flow through there, not around it, or it can't leak air pressure out or any of that. And I guess the other issue too was, well, there's not enough room to bring it this way and in, not without doing potential damage. And so I wasn't confident enough in myself to do it that way, and it would just be too tight, and I don't want to damage it. And it's just much easier to go this way when I have all the room. And it's just 6 screws, right? Yeah, 6 screws to get this all out of my way to make it easy to slide in. So let's make it as easy as possible, since I'm the one that warranties the work and I don't want to damage it. Okay, so I got to record some video progress here. This is going to be the return, my bad. This is the 20-inch return to the new unit. So I measured the exterior width and height, marked it, cut it with a pair of tin snips. Then I took this 20-inch collar, assembled it, and I traced it and cut it. What I did on the one in the existing return, I drew it from, or I marked it from the inside, so I had to cut twice. So on this one, I marked it with the Sharpie on the outside, and then cut it, and I didn't have to cut it twice. And then I'm gonna fill it in with the puka stuff here in a minute to seal it up and then attach it. So for the goop, for this sealant stuff, let's see, whatever that is, duct sealant, I just take it and blob it in, just kind of seal it around until I can't see any holes. And then I go over, and I bought this bucket for one job. Yep, so now that I'm done, I just go around and look in these little corners and hit all these little holes, make sure that there's no light passing through. This one I'm not going to worry about just yet, because the inner boot of the insulated ductwork, I'm pulling up on here and then wrapping in that tape. And if it's still exposed, I'll just stick another piece of tape on, and then pull the big zip tie around the outer insulation part. So it was crazy when I bought this house that I'm in now, like 8-9 years ago. All of the ductwork I did this to, it didn't have any of it, and you can see all these pinholes through it. And in the return up in the attic, when they installed the alarm, they just popped the corner of the return open, and it left a big hole. So it would just suck in hot attic air and dust. So when I first got the house, I'm like, man, this house just gets dusty as heck. And so then just started going around and air sealing things, and yeah, I cut that dust at least in half, if not more. Okay, so I'm getting ready to put on the intake I made. It's right now I just use a piece of tape up here and here to kind of tack it in place so I can make sure this is where I want it, make sure I'm squared up, that kind of stuff. And then so I know this isn't centered, and this is a pretty large opening, but I think it's, like I said, it's most of this intake is within the circle of this, so you got extra here and here. So okay, so it's on. So I did 3 screws across the top, 3 down the side, 3 across the bottom, and then I opted not to do any on the front. And then I took these guys out on the top and bottom, and then put the piece of tape so it covers this seam, the hole that was here, and all the seams up. And then I just put an X slit in the hole and jam that through and tighten it in. So if I ever have to get in here, I can try to peel this off. Okay, so I drilled the holes, and with the help of my neighbor and his son, we were able to get these 50-foot of line set through down to here. And this 3/4 inch is pretty tough to bend. As well as I rotated this. Oops, sorry, I blocked the sun out of the camera. This has been rotated now 90, because they want about 79, almost 80 inches for this out. And when it was rotated, it was only 53 to the wall. So to be on the safe side, I rotated it, and I can still get stuff through here. So I'm currently working on the wires in this old whip are not long enough. So I went to the Home Disappointment store, got new wire. This I replaced last year because it melted and died, and I know why now, and I'll cover that. So I have new wire, so I got to finish pulling this out. The power's already off. Fish that through. The thermostat control, that's already in. Hey, Beanie. So the one difference is my whip, 3/4 inch. This hole, 1 inch. So, you know, it mostly goes all the way through. So I went to Ace, and Ace has these plug things, $2. So I'll put this on the inside, stuff it through, put the O-ring and this piece on, crank it down after I fish the new wire. And then this side's wired up. Green up there on my side in the attic is not hooked up, but it's just left out over here. W1 is auxiliary heat, and I don't have auxiliary heat. So B is reversing valve. Here's the power, 24 volts, and then AC, and then this is fan control. So there it's hooked up. I'm gonna leave, I'll probably stick this onto green just so it's not floating around. And then I gotta get my new lines up in here. It ran, I got extra, so I think I'm at 8 feet now on this whip and the wire. So I'm gonna take the excess and just kind of stuff it down and loop it, because I'd rather have extra and serve like a service loop. So then let's go hang out. So I have all of these on. The valves are open, refrigerant's connected. I've checked all ends for leaks. These are 2 25-foot line sets with the adapters in the middle. And those, I don't have video of that because I was getting help and I wasn't going to stop to make video. And it's hot up in there. So I just kind of skipped that part. Also, in a fun story, I know I bought 2 of these masks and I couldn't find it, and I was looking and looking and looking. I'm like, you know what? Last time I had it, I was up here, opened up this part of the air handler. I'm like, and it was in there. So glad I opened it and checked, or else it could have sucked it in to the fan and made a. It was right under the squirrel cage intake, and so I got that out. I'm like, yeah, let me just go check. I'd rather spend the 5 minutes in or whatever it takes to open this up and look in there before turning it on and causing potential damage. And sure enough, it was in there. So glad I found it at least. And if you're crawling up around in the attic and you're having to deal with the forbidden cotton candy, wear these. So the other thing I also did too is I have a giant garage swamp cooler. Not everyone can do this. I just happen to have one. And so I have that pushed up to my front door. Take something like this piece of trash. It might be a little too heavy, but you can see how much that air is blowing and moving around. If I try to drop it, it blows it back in. And then, where did I have? Yeah, so if I take this guy, and just to show you how much air is being pushed through, which helps. And the reason I did that is up there, all that fiberglass and light dust. So you see how much it dances around. All that light fiberglass and dust will just be stagnant in there, and so it just really gets in your eyes and in your mouth and stuff. Even with the mask on, it's not always the best, but with this fan pressurizing, it's going to push it out through all the gable vents on each side of this house, and basically just creates excess. It's positive pressure, and then you don't have all this lingering dust. But yeah, you can see how much it dances around. Okay, so pan is in. Can't remember what I said in the last video. These are opened, and they don't. I pray them with soapy water. They don't leak, but I got to turn on because this one's gonna get up to about 500 psi. So it's tight, but hopefully, I mean, I tightened it real hard, so hopefully that was enough. The drain in the back's tied. Since I had no real spot to really grab the straps, because it was right there in that square hole in the middle of dead space, I cut it off. Self-tapping sheet metal screw in the corner, and then put it to this cross brace. This one was right here, so I just kind of bent it over and did that. And then I can't get to, or I guess that one is under this. So what I did was cut the strap off. I think it was a scrap piece of this. Ran a sheet metal screw there in the highest, up here in the very edge, so it's not down low, so it would leak. And then up to that 2x4. So now I'm working on the drain. I got this safety switch. So since it doesn't hold pressure, I'm gonna just kind of smack these together real tight. Thread this in like so. And then I went and grabbed some street elbows before depot closed. So now I can kind of do this. The sensor, I gotta cut a little scrap piece to jam in here. But I think the best course of action is to effectively run it like that. So I have a downgraded pitch. If this overflows, it goes into the pan. And then I'm going to take it, come out, around, and go under the pan against these 2x4s. And then make sure I'm on a pitch, and pitch down over to this PEX line that I got to trim, but I haven't done that yet. This will be my, it's a shark bite, a little bit of Teflon tape to this, and then this little doohickey, then it'll feed here. And then I added this just in case I ever need to run a clean out down it. I can unthread it and get to it, and also prevent any sort of debris falling in it and premature clogging the line. So, and then I'll cut some scraps, or I'll use some of my leftover scraps to make little stacks on these guys. And then what I had to do was cut open my sink. So I still have to patch it, but in there's another shark bite with, I gotta move, there we go, it's a shark bite elbow. This is glued. I'm gonna replace this because it looks like it unthreads right here to a plastic one with a T, and then I will put a clear piece of vinyl into it. That way I can check it. This was the old one that was up there, and it was stopped used because it was full of debris. When I put a vacuum on it, the vacuum acts like it's 100% clogged. So it's a good thing I didn't reuse this guy. Come across this way, that way this has something to rest on. But the friction fit up there. Now, I'm not sure what's gonna happen when I cut that. It's still kind of tight, but I think maybe when I cut that excess slack at the top, it might make it too loose and it drops. So I'm not quite sure yet. Hey, baby. Yeah. This is Penny. Oh, here's my baby girl. Here's my little baby girl. Yeah, say hi, Penny. Hi, Penny. So, yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to do for the drain. Makes the most sense to me. And then I do have from another project extra of these guys, so I'll use that to kind of mount this pipe across. And like I said, I'll probably that'll glue and then run this piece up there, glue the back elbow, glue the up elbow here, and then press everything else in so I can disassemble it to clean it if I ever have that issue. I'm hoping we don't have any issues, but what is it? Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Okay, well, I'll get all that done. Alrighty, well, main drain is now done. So here's what I'm looking at. These are all just pressed together pretty hard, so if I need to get in here and take it, and then I glued this joint, these joints, that back joint, and that. So I have a nice good pitch so the water will drain. I have a T up there as a clean out with a cap, and then our safety switch, a vent. I think I don't know, in my mind it made sense this goes on this side. That way if this is clogged, that it has to force to back up so it trips this. So should do that because it has to get at least that high. If it's that bad, I got other issues because it come out over there, but any point in here is higher than the point of this switch. So I think I'm good. Yeah, and then I gotta rotate it so it's nice. Statics, I'm gonna do a little wire management. Ooh, almost fell. That kind of comes over, hangs. I gotta clean that up just a hair. Alright, here we go. Moment of truth. I just flipped the breaker to the air handler after getting everything done. I'm hoping, oh, it's on. Okay, let's fans on. Wow, this is quiet. There we go. All right, yeah, there's the ductwork. It's pretty darn quiet compared to the last one. Let's kick the air conditioning portion on and let's see if we get cold air. Auto. Let's see, what mode are we going to be in? Oh, it's heating. Okay. Pause the video for a second to get a flashlight. It's on and running. Let's see, can't tell what it's doing just yet. Well, actually I might have the reversing valve set backwards. I can't tell if that's heat coming out. Let's feel these lines. Yeah, I think it's back. I think I have the reversing valve set backwards. Oh, it's ramping up to do something. And there's those lines I gotta fix. Hot. Okay, so the reversing goes backwards. There's hot air coming off this.